Well, when I was living in Washington and going to clubs to see music and see bands like the Nighthawks, great blues bands, and the Seldom Scene, one of my all-time favorite bands, great bluegrass band, and it was, and then the punk rock bands like first the Slicky Boys, and then the more hardcore bands like Minor Threat. There was always this notion of we love making music, and we love making music for the sake of making music, and we're not going to be big stars. Washington, there were almost never any big stars come out of D.C. except maybe in R&B and soul, you know, and Marvin Gaye, and then, you know, Roberta Flack and people like that. But in rock and roll, you kind of had to leave town to make it, and the bands that stayed there were just making it because they loved it. And so that vibe was always there, and you can't discount the notion of having a great radio station. And WHFS at the time was that, because they would play bluegrass, and they would play Little Feat and the Grateful Dead, and they would also play Emmylou Harris, and they would play Elvis Costello and the Sex Pistols when they broke too. So everything was all happening together, and that's really when I started writing songs.
Throw my ticket out the window. Throw my suitcase out there too. I don't need them anymore, 'cause tonight I'll be staying here with you. I should have left this town this morning, but it was more than I could do. But your love comes on so strong, and I waited all day long for tonight when I'll be staying here with you. Oh, is it any wonder the love a stranger might receive? You cast your spell and I went under. Difficult to leave. I can hear that whistle blowing. I hear the station master too. If there's a poor boy on the street, then let him have my seat. I'll be staying here with you.
So my brother and I started playing together in bands in the 80s, and we were kind of guitar pop. It was never punk, but it was more like, I don't even know how to describe it, kind of like Graham Parker or Marshall Crenshaw or something like that, where the songs were as important as the energy. And I think that we were trying to bring in, because I was also in a bluegrass band in college, and my brother was in kind of a blues jam band when he was in college. We tried to bring all of that together, and so we were kind of doing what we came to find later as Americana in the late 80s ourselves. And I think that the appeal, once I became aware of Nashville as a place for music other than country music, it was kind of inevitable that at some point I would move here, because a lot of great people that I knew and loved were living here. I mean, people like Nancy Griffith and John Prine live here, you know, and you just wonder, is that, you know, that's not country music. When people make fun of Nashville, I'm thinking, oh, you know, where else can you see Emmylou Harris walking down the street, you know? And it's okay to be an aging musician in Nashville and just hanging out at a coffee shop. And I thought, well, this is kind of where I belong, and this is where people are making the kind of music I'm trying to make and am making. And I certainly love and miss Washington, D.C., and I think that Last Train Home developed a great following up there and was well supported in Washington. But I think in order for Last Train Home to sort of expand and for me to expand musically, I think I needed to be in Nashville, and specifically East Nashville.
Good evening, neighbors. Good evening, sidewalk strangers. Good evening, police helicopter too. Darling reeds of the Queen, children lost in dreams, sirens throb down the avenue. There's a pulse pushing under my collar, and the collar feels like it's on the end of a leash. And the full moon's looking like my last silver dollar, hanging there in the black air of the reach. And all night long the black dog keeps knocking at the back door. Wants to get out, wants to break away.
When I moved down here, I thought, well, I got to start my own label because other record labels are kind of collapsing. It was sort of 2004 roughly. It's coincides with the decline of the record business in general, and I thought, well, as long as I'm going to be on a sinking ship, I might as well start my own sinking ship. And I thought, well, let's create a label. And I didn't want it to be just about my music or Last Train Home's music, or where it would just be a vanity label. I wanted it to be taken seriously as a music label. And my wife and I thought, well, let's create a label that talks about the scene that we're in, that we moved here to be in. I mean, the very reason we came here. And I'm friends with the guys in Discord Records in DC, the punk rock label, and Ian Mackay and Jeff Nelson and those guys that formed it. They set out very clearly to document the scene. They never went and signed other bands, you know, the way Sub Pop did, signing all kinds of other bands from different places and different styles. Discord didn't want to do that. They wanted to just document that scene. The point of Red Beet Records and the point about putting out music from East Nashville is never going to be about money. And I think, though, if we sell a ton, that's great. You know, I'm not trying to not make money.
Won't you be mine, oh mine?